Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Know Your Game podcast. And today we're talking FEC, bringing that into your facility. What are the values? What are the possible hurdles that have to be overcome? And is it even worth exploring? As most of you know who are watching this, if you attended our conference earlier this year, we had several facilitators and speakers talking about the value of family entertainment and bringing it into your facility. And today is no stranger to our conference. In fact, Scott Benjamin from TwoCubed was one of our exhibitors during our trade show. And he is going to be our special guest today to talk about FEC and why would we want to have this in our facility. So Scott, how you doing?
James, doing really well. Good time to be together, and look forward to our conversation.
Wonderful. And again, thanks for being here. And to get things going, as we usually do with new guests, is give you a chance to introduce yourself, talk about your journey. How did you get into this, and what prompted you to create TwoCubed?
TwoCubed, sure. I was trucking along, happy as a lark, doing my day job, which was in the printing industry for about 20 plus years, and ended up meeting a gentleman who was opening up the first Sky Zone in the state of Georgia. And I thought that's the craziest idea I'd ever heard. Well, turns out I run into him again a year later, and he's opening up his second one. So I started thinking, well, maybe this is something. And through a number of conversations, he convinces me that it'd be good for me to join him in this trampoline park adventure. So this is 2012, 2013, as the trampoline park industry is just exploding on the scene. And so I worked with him for 2 years, then went to work with a group that started their own independent park, Sky Zone, obviously, or maybe not so much in this context, but is a franchise group. So we opened up an independent park in 2015, and I worked as the managing partner in that group for about 4 years. And just through a series of circumstances, it was just kind of time for me to exit out of that partnership. And as I was looking for my next role, I ended up applying for and being offered the opportunity to work in sales for FunSpot Manufacturing, which is a global leader in the manufacturing of trampoline parks and other equipment that goes into trampoline parks, just ninja courses, climbing walls, those types of things. So over the next 4 years, from 2019 up until 2022, I worked and kind of matriculated up to executive director of sales and marketing for that brand. And as we got kind of post-pandemic and things are starting to kind of pick back up, I just realized and saw, based on what I was seeing, a need in the independent side of things, the non-franchise side of things, someone to really consult with independent owners. And so in early 2022, I decided to go out and go independent, start TwoCubed. Really, TwoCubed being based on the idea that the relationship between two people can create exponential growth. So with TwoCubed being a consultant, that we can help you really grow, not just multiply, but exponentially grow. So launched out with TwoCubed, began to, over the 4 years I was with FunSpot and the 6 years prior with just being an operator, really made a lot of great relationships and connections in the industry. And so have been for the past, a little over a year, been utilizing those relationships and connections to benefit those who come to me for consultation. The U.S. Indoor sports came on my radar prior to the conference, and decided it would be a good opportunity to engage this group. And so look forward to sharing a little bit about my thoughts on how the Indoor Sports Association and members can benefit from adding FEC type equipment into their facilities.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those who attended the conference, we actually, for the first time, had what we call a pre-conference event, which was titled Birthday University with Frank Price.
Yeah, very familiar with Frank.
Oh, yeah. Frank's been around the block. And we got rave reviews about his pre-conference talk. And he also did something for our executive symposium as well, and spoke on a slightly different topic.
Mm-hmm.
But the interest that he generated about not just birthday parties, but just that whole family entertainment aspect and bringing into your facility drew a lot of attention and a lot of questions. And also during our State of the Industry industry. We had Takeshi speak about birthday parties and how to book them and etc. And we'll probably get to that during this conversation as we talk about how to get this implemented into your facility. So I guess let's just start with the big reason. Like why, if I'm running an indoor soccer, basketball, a variety of indoor sports at my facility with moderate, maybe even great success, why should I even consider or contemplate, saving some space in my facility for FEC?
Yeah. So what I think, the way I'm going to answer that question is I think that the success of the indoor sports is generated on after school and summer. Very similar to an FEC, right? I mean, there's not a lot of people out there during the day, and they're certainly probably not of the age that they're going to be playing soccer or throwing a football around during the day. What the equipment that you would find in a typical active family entertainment center does is it allows you to, during the day, during the week, during the school year, access parents of small kids for active play. It really generates just that some kind of annuity income. You can sell a little membership to a family who's going to come in 2, maybe 3 times a week because kid can go play on small kid or toddler equipment, or maybe even 4, 5, 6-year-olds can have a little more active play. Mom can rest, or open up her laptop, or dad can open up his laptop and can do a little work, or can play with the child on that equipment. So that's one answer. That's a question I get asked a lot is how do we kind of use the space that's dead during the day, which is a question that typical FECs have to answer as well. So I think that answers a little bit of that question. And then really piggybacking on your comment of Frank Price and Birthday University, the ability to host a birthday party while at the same time, having your sports kids who are a captive audience be able to do their birthday party and invite friends who may not be athletic or wanting to play soccer or football or lacrosse, or whatever other indoor sport is happening at your facility. So it gives a bit of a combination. So you can have some soft play equipment, some other interactive equipment, maybe a ninja course that is a little more accessible for a large group of people. And so then you begin to host your birthday parties in spaces that right now are dead, really underused. Maybe that's some storage space. Maybe that's just a room that isn't really being used. We're designing a couple of 600 to 800 square foot soft play structures for some members right now. They're looking to do something in first quarter next year. And so these aren't huge structures, but they extend the ability for birthday parties. And then thirdly, any of this equipment extends an opportunity for family members who are coming to watch siblings practice or play. So all of a sudden you've got, Jimmy's out there for 90 minutes practicing his sports, and Sally doesn't have anything to do but do her homework. Well, she finishes her homework in a half hour and she's got 60 minutes of boredom. Well, now she can go pay, $6, $8, $10, $12 for that hour and really have some active, interactive fun.
This goes beyond
so
putting an inflatable inside your facility and calling it a family entertainment center, or putting a ball pit and saying, hey, there we go, we've done it. I assume there's a little bit more to it in terms of, well, number one, how much space ideally would you want to have? And I know that's kind of a subjective question because facility operators their facilities range from 15,000 square feet all the way up to 80, 90 plus thousand square feet. So is there an ideal size in terms of space to get things set up initially, even if it's a smaller facility? And if so, what kind of space are we looking at here?
Yeah, so like I mentioned, I'm designing something that's a 600 square foot footprint that's 3 stories, so about 18 feet high, that has interactives, it's soft play. So it's going to be kind of for 0 to 5, 6-year-olds. And it's a 600 square foot. It's not big at all compared to a 15 or much less 100,000 square foot type facility. So I was really curious when I started getting these requests at the trade show that people that had these smaller spaces that they want to utilize, and it makes a ton of sense. You're looking at maybe $50,000 to $100,000 depending on design and size on a 600, 700 square foot footprint. With 18 foot heights. So it's a return on investment that makes sense over the course of 12 to 24 months easily. You market it well and do well. I would see in 6 to 12 months ROI, and then you're just running profit from there. So that's on the small side. So on the large side, I've worked with facilities that are hardcore facilities that have 100,000 square foot, and they've dedicated 20 to 25,000 square feet to a full operating family entertainment center within their facility. So that just gives them just that additional income. Again, when they're doing tournaments, it's a captive audience for the spectators, kids who aren't into it can go play. Just the cafe really serves both the entertainment center and the tournaments or the sports teams. Yeah, I know of 3 or 4 across the country right now that have full 25,000 square foot FECs inside their 100,000 square foot spaces.
Sure. And when it comes to the type of equipment, you've mentioned some of it already, like the whole, American Ninja course that, I'm sure of us have seen on television. That would be sort of on one end of the spectrum, being probably the most elaborate setup you could do to have a proper obstacle course set up inside, under a roof. But what are some of the more popular, maybe less extravagant attractions that someone could put inside a relatively smaller facility?
Yeah. So, I mean, really, if you can think what you see inside of a McDonald's or Chick-fil-A, that type of play structure, just expanded to fit your footprint. Everything that I work on is bespoke. So our designs aren't, you're not buying something off the shelf that have to try and squeeze into your space. We build custom. And so that's a very popular attraction because it gets you that 0 to 6-year-old, which is parents of kids that are playing sports in these facilities know that have the younger kids. There's nothing for them to do. So for again $10 for an hour, you can let them be playing in a clean, safe, fun environment where they're actually moving. And what's happened in that space in the last, I'll say, 5 years is interactives have become a big part of that. And so installing rugged interactive pods that change colors, that create tag games and chase games and things like that. For even small kids, they just love pushing the buttons. There's sounds that they can put in bags, and when you hit the bag or squeeze the bag, it creates a sound of farm animal or other noises that you can imagine. So there's interactive stuff like that. Then there's also augmented reality type things where you see yourself in the game. Valomotion is a big leader in this right now, where you're actually either standing on a floor or on an air track where you're getting a little bit of a bounce, and you're interacting as the controller and as the participant in the game. So you see yourself. And so if you've got 2 side by side, you're seeing yourself and your friend next to you, and you're playing against each other to hop over and bounce on and jump on different things. So that type of interactive, and I've been really impressed with the Valomotion products, is because I see in the trampoline park industry where you do interact with this on a trampoline, I see kids as young as 3 intuitively understand. They walk in front of it and they get what they're supposed to do, and it just always excites me and impresses me that that's the case. But then again, these are digital natives, from the time they exit the womb, so they're all about it. So those are 2 really on kind of one end. It's more floor based stuff, or kind of crawling around. Then you've got, like you said, a full ninja course. Depending on certain variations of ceiling heights and requirements, and putting in some trampolines is certainly possible. Climbing walls is another one that takes up a little space. If you've got a dead wall that's 10, 12, 15 feet wide and you've got 18 feet ceiling heights, you throw 5 walls on there. They're climbing walls, or a bouldering wall where it's a belayed bouldering, or a belayed climbing wall, or an unbelayed bouldering wall. And then within the bouldering side of things, there's lots of other interactions and games that you can add onto a bouldering wall that make things fun. So really, just 98% of what I do is active play type things. We talk about arcades. Arcades are revenue generators. So there's certainly something to say for putting in some arcades and some redemption as well.
Absolutely. In fact, the podcast just before this one, we had Devin LaPlume from All Systems Go, and he was talking about incorporating esports into your facility. And
Yeah.
in that podcast, we talked about distinctions between esports and an arcade. And I thought he would be opposed or suggest against putting arcades or traditional arcades or computers into your facility. But the opposite was true. He was like, hey, no, that's a very solid revenue stream to bring in to your
Yeah.
facility if you have the space to incorporate. So what you're saying is, yes, put in some arcades, put in some sort of video type entertainment that
Yeah.
kids and adults could.
Yeah. You need to have enough. I mean, you can't put in three, right? That doesn't make a lot of sense to put in three. So you need to have enough space that you can generate the income, but generate the interest and excitement with the arcade. And I mean, just I've been to Amusement Expo and IAPA and these other industry specific events that are huge, and just the technology and the innovation that's happening within augmented reality, virtual reality, and video game, and then just the combining of all that with active play and all that. It's really fascinating and such a great time to begin to add some of these things into your facility.
Yeah, as a Star Trek fan, I remember the holodeck that
Yeah.
go in, and I'm still waiting for the holodeck to come around, but this sounds like we're kind of trending in that direction with
Yeah,
the
no. If you've
augmented
not put on
reality.
a pair of virtual reality glasses in the last 3 years, you can do the holodeck.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's pretty
it's
remarkable. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I've walked around places all over the world, just in the comfort of my living room or when I was an operator. We were very early adopters in 2013, 2014 with virtual reality booths, and yeah, just the experience that you can do by putting on a pair of goggles is pretty spectacular. And so that's even coming more and more mainstream. Every year at the Amusement Expo, there's a pre-conference virtual reality summit that really dives into how do you integrate virtual reality and the software and the hardware, and it's coming a long way where you're not tethered anymore. You got packs on your back, or it's really it's getting there for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And to kind of, flip the script on that is, have there been things, activities, apparatuses that have fallen out of favor or fallen out of fad over time? And we'll use trampolines as an example. I remember when the trampoline parks first hit, and boy, were
Hmm.
they popular. They were all over the place. But
Yeah.
where I live, there's not so many anymore. Have they fallen out of favor, or what's happened with
Yeah. So
trampolines?
what's happened with trampolines, in my opinion, is in the early 2010s, as Sky Zone went, and everybody who had a sense would walk into a Sky Zone, they'd count noses, they'd look up at the price, they'd multiply it by 15 or 20 bucks an hour, and they go, "Hey, I can do this in my hometown," and that's what happened. It just
Mm,
blew up. And back then it was 18,000 square feet of trampolines. You had your main court, you had your slam dunk, you had your couple of dodgeball courts, and a foam pit to jump into. Well, foam pits have fallen out of favor post COVID, right? Nobody wants to jump into yucky foam, so now that airbags became very popular to replace that foam. So airbags, jumping in airbags, we have a hygienic cover that there's a lot of benefits to an airbag versus foam. That's one thing that's really changed big. But then over time, people have done trampolines. So then, you started to see ninja courses. And so that would take out a dodgeball court and put in a ninja course. And you start seeing all these. So where a trampoline park in 2011, 12 might have 5, 6 attractions. Today, a typical trampoline park or an adventure park, as a lot of them have kind of rebranded as adventure parks or indoor active fun centers. You can see 20 to 25 different attractions that you can do inside of that facility. So, including trampolines, right? So I don't think trampolines have gone away, nor do I think they will. I think there's still a draw and attraction for people and kids, especially, to have that calorie burning experience that is what I loved about it when I got in the industry is, kids are having fun for an hour burning calories and they don't even know it. And so, kind of that non-screen time activity. So that said, I think there's just new things coming in every day, every year, that these conferences that you see that begin to add value to customers, taking existing stuff and making it interactive, like the company Rugged Interactive does and Motion does. So that same trampoline activity that was just jumping on trampolines, and all of a sudden now you're you're playing Simon and chasing lights against a competitor, or you're trying to see who can get the highest, or lots of different ways of calibrating those types of activities. And then kid soft play has really been the thing that's begun to, in the last couple of years, really come into these family entertainment centers for families with the kind of 0 to 5-year-olds, really even the smaller 0 to 3-year-olds, something for them to do. So even a trampoline park that's typically hitting the 6, 7 to 12, 13-year-old is now adding a space for toddlers. One, so they get that, like I talked at the top of the show, where they get that regenerating revenue during the day when it's simply dead. Now you're not retiring on that revenue, but it's consistent revenue that you can count on. And it's something that you're booking birthday parties for. So really, in any FEC, you're filling out a waiver and you're using the information on that waiver to generate the opportunity to market for birthday parties. And so that's, I mean, I'm sure Frank spoke something like that when we talked about birthday universities, because the birthday is super profitable. Every birthday you have in your facility, you got 10 kids, you're going to generate one more at least birthday party. And plus you're exposing people who may not have known or been to your facility to the other things that you offer. And so there's interest generated just by kids watching what's happening in your facility.
And have you seen facilities take the FEC framework and gamify it so much so that it becomes competitive? Like you have a ninja course, maybe have teams come in to compete against other teams who can get through the course the fastest, or is there that level of gamification to what you've been seeing in the family entertainment?
There's that level of gamification. I'll be cautious on how I say it's competitive. It is competitive. But my experience in the family entertainment side of things is people come because they want to have fun. And so, doing full on ninja course competitions or dodgeball competitions in the trampoline park when trampoline dodgeball was just huge. People loved it. Kids absolutely still today love throwing balls at each other. And, but when you start to organize a competition, that's where things tend to kind of, fall apart or create a sport out of it, things like that. So, yes, I think there's some really fun ways to one-on-one gamify and make competitive. The tag arenas are a gamified competitive type thing where you've got 3 minutes and you've got a blue team, a red team, a green team, a yellow team, and each person on your team's looking for all those different pods over 3 minutes, and whoever hits the most, there's a leaderboard. And so that kind of competition, absolutely. I think you're seeing a general trend. I don't know if you've heard the term eatertainment yet, but it's a term you'll see or hear in the industry. And so you see places like Putt Shack or Tiger Woods has one that's similar. It's an indoor putt gamified bar, right? And so you're seeing a lot of that social, competitive, and gamified. Those are the three kind of buzzwords today. And so, yes, I think that's where even, I'm going to be doing a talk at the Trampoline Industry Association conference coming up here in September about how family entertainment centers can learn from this kind of entertainment trend, and how adding kind of a leveled up food experience really changes the game for a family entertainment center. So
Sure. And I would imagine you probably also in your consultation provide ideas on how to better incorporate or even run F&B or food and beverage at your facility so that it sort of melds in with the family entertainment setup.
yeah, so a portion of what I do in my consulting with either someone looking to open up something from scratch or add to an existing facility, such as the members here, is learning how to run it. Right, it's a different animal than knowing how to run sports tournaments and leagues. So teaching general managers and staff how to engage parents and kids and think about safety differently. And it's a much more retail transactional arrangement with the public at that level. And so, yeah, there is a learning how you handle food and beverage in your offerings in your kitchen. If you want to add or expand your kitchen, are all things that I do consulting with.
Sure. And you kind of mentioned this a few times as you're talking, whether it was for safety and signing waivers. And I saw on your website you do offer risk management consultation.
Mm-hmm.
So and this is again, an FAQ that, I've been asked personally
Yeah.
is, how safe is this, and what sort of legality should I be aware of, and what sort of risk management should I be trying
Yeah.
to employ?
It's when I talk to new clients, there's two things that I bring up. One is you think you're opening up an FTC, but really you're opening up a risk management business, right? And two, you're going to work with teenagers a lot. So people maybe already in this industry, know that there are people that are hiring are, 14, 15 up to 20, 21. But it's very true. It's a very Friday, Saturday, Sunday heavy business run by kids with typically 25-year-old, assistant or general managers kind of running these spots. And so, um, someone who owns an existing facility, I will always encourage them to talk to their insurance carrier, tell them what they're thinking about. Waivers are a big portion of, the trampoline adventure park business. Even if you're just going to put in a soft play, you want someone to sign a waiver so that they understand that there is risk involved. Because if you take away the risk, there's nothing to offer. So there's always some risk involved, and that does come with premiums and just the reality that just like in sports, there are accidents and injuries that happen. I will say, anecdotally, the percentage of injuries at a family entertainment center, specifically a trampoline or adventure park, are significantly less than in the sports world on a percentage basis. I mean, you're seeing at a 25,000 square foot facility, you're seeing thousands of people a weekend, and on a percentage basis, it's just very small. Any injury is too much. But again, understanding what the risk is, you can't mitigate it all 100%. But I teach people how to train their staff so that they know what to look for, how to enforce rules, how to engage with children, especially young children, to get them to follow the rules, stooping down to their level, looking at them eye to eye, things like that make it intuitive, just yell and point. You got to work with young kids at a different level. And so all that, how you greet them when they come in the door, what their experience is like from really the parking lot through till the time they leave, all of that is risk management and mitigating the risk and creating a climate and a culture with your staff and your guests that is safe.
Sure. And for someone, who's looking to pull the trigger on this and get started, beyond reaching out to you, of course, as an option,
Hmm.
what are some of these initial steps that they would have to take to get this off the ground, even if they decide to go small in the beginning? Like, what would you suggest to them?
Yeah, I think identifying your space, like really going back to, hey, you're getting into risk management and working with kids. Those are the two things every conversation I start off with, and really then just determining, okay, do I have a space? Is it accessible? Is it easily understood where this is if I were to add something in there? Think about the types of things. I didn't mention karting, but you can do karting in 3 to 5,000 square feet. It's a really neat opportunity to add something into an existing dead space. So, what kinds of things might I be interested in? Do I want to attract 0 to 5-year-olds, or do I want something that is more 6 to 12-year-old or high school or adult oriented? So kind of begin thinking about those types of things. Then talking to an insurance company, your broker, let them know what you're thinking about, making sure that they understand what you're trying to do and that they're on board and can support that. It is a niche. The family entertainment center, especially trampolines and active entertainment, is very niche when it comes to insurance. And so there's people that I recommend that understand that market a little differently, possibly than um, the sports market. And then, really determining budget, trying to think through, okay, how much do I want to spend? Can I spend? And then, at that point, somewhere in that thing, you're going to say, okay, well, I don't know, I don't even know what questions I'm supposed to ask, which is where someone like me comes in and is able to say, okay, here's a list of things you need to be thinking about. I can help you answer these questions, if you like, or, connect you with other people. I've just been fortunate to have just great relationships across the board, with just a number of different manufacturers and vendors that can help support from start to finish. So if I'm not the guy, I know a guy or a girl who is for you, and I'm happy to refer and consult. I don't believe I'm the end all be all by any stretch. I do have some experience. Would love to share that with folks, but also know if it's not a good fit, I can refer people to other folks. So just kind of understanding that, and then begin to do some designs from my standpoint. At that point, if you're engaging with me and say, yeah, we want to go forward, I've already to a couple of members, we've sent out 3D designs of the space with the equipment that they're talking about in it. So they can visualize it. They can share it with their other ownership group or their management group and decide. And then we do a collaborative process on what the final design of the equipment is going to look like. We do deposits, we go to manufacturing, we ship, we install, we do training on the equipment and staff training on if they want that, additional staff training on customer service, front end. I consult with either using your existing point of sale or integrating point of sale and any other technology into that so that you can book parties. And then marketing. Again, it's a little bit different game when you're thinking about marketing birthday parties and kids activities from a family entertainment center standpoint versus a sports standpoint. So help people understand what that might look like, and then just move forward from there.
Right. And what kind of runway or how long would it take to get this, set up? Let's say the structures are there, they've been installed, but more so in training the staff, kind of like what you mentioned, like getting them acclimated on how to run that side of the business. How long does that typically take?
Yeah, I mean, in a week we can do a soft open. I
Wow.
can train in 2 days, do a week soft opening, where we get some real world experience, and then plan a grand opening of the attraction or the larger integration of equipment that's happening in a facility. So it's typical engagement is 9 to 12 months from the time I'm engaged to the time something's up and running and starting to generate revenue. And then I just stand by available for future consultation or come in every 6 to 12 months and do a retraining and on new staff, stuff like that.
All right. And I guess my final major question is, what sort of hurdles, obstacles, barriers might someone run into who want to get into this? And have you ever advised someone maybe not to do this based on what you're seeing at their facility, whether it be their size, location, or anything that might hinder them from getting into this?
Yeah, sure. So I haven't come across a space that we haven't been able to provide something for. Like we may need to change what their desired outcomes were and look at something that's more fitting. The biggest hurdles that I run into is local municipalities, kind of understanding, and sometimes states. There are certain states that make it more challenging to put in certain types of equipment. Certain states are regulated for trampolines, for instance, and so you just got to really decide whether you want to deal with that bureaucracy. And I think it's good. I think states are there to protect their citizens, and there are certain things, and the industry is self-policed for the most part if it's not regulated by a state or local governing body. And so have been instances where we've had to do a lot of education, where fire marshals have insisted on sprinklers in certain instances where, once we educate them on what's happening with these pieces of equipment, they understand, okay, well, it doesn't have to have that. On one occasion, for me, my experience has been where we just had to either decide we're going to spend an extra, $15,000 for sprinklers, and put the equipment in and just have it be. It just adds expense, right? So that's those are the kind of obstacles and hurdles that you've got to look at, and then depending on your insurance carrier, what the additional premiums are going to be. That has been a barrier for some. I mean, if you're going to build a 25,000 square foot trampoline park with ninja courses and maybe a karting and things like that, I mean, you can be spending $60,000 a year plus, for your liability insurance. So that can be a hurdle, depending on your market and the size and all that. There's a lot of factors. So those are the two big things are kind of local and state municipalities, and then insurance really being a kind of hurdles. But in general, it's typically just education that needs to happen with those you're dealing with, and then it becomes a non-hurdle at that point.
Sure, sure. And I guess in closing, what are some of the hot trends that you have either seen, predict, going to a lot of events and trade shows yourself?
Yeah.
Is there something we should be keeping our eye on? We did talk about augmented reality. Are there upgrades happening to that, or just other cool things that are happening in this space?
Yeah, I think as I mentioned already, James is looking at supplying stuff for smaller kids soft play, and then interactive. Even if you have a kid soft play, adding something interactive in there is really been some of the best upgrades we're doing. I mean, in trampoline parks, if you've been in a trampoline park, you see there's typically a main court and there's a big angle wall. We're ripping out those angle walls and putting up interactives along that wall that are just creating. Again, you talked about it: social, gamified, and competitive. Those are the three buzzwords that are really everybody's talking about. And then, the other side of things in the bigger FECs is staffing, right? What are things that you can do that don't require as much staffing, which is why I think you've also seen the decline in total square footage of trampolines inside of FEC, because trampolines do require such a high level of staffing. So I think VR and AR are right there for coming in. I think there's ways to do it with goggles, without goggles, for augmented reality. That creates some pretty exciting entertainment, and it can still be active, right? So I think keeping an eye on what's happening with technology is really going to be a real key to see what's coming out there. Especially, I'm looking forward to November. If people in this industry may not be aware, but IAAPA is the big umbrella organization for everything from cut to win and duck claw machines to huge water parks and roller coasters. I mean, it's down in Orlando in November, the week before Thanksgiving. I mean, it's a place where you can see, like I said, from kit to caboodle, everything that you would ever imagine putting in your facility in one spot. So I'll have stuff in my on my website and in my my email blast that I do that'll talk a little bit about that. If that interests anybody, you want to see what's trending, that's the show to go to, is IAAPA.
Sure, and I'll probably put the link here in
Sure.
the video as people watch. And so, well, Scott, that's it. As we wrap up today, let's go ahead and let people know how can they reach you.
Yeah.
What website should they visit? I'll put it all on screen. But go
Yeah.
ahead and let us know how
No,
they can
that's
reach out
great.
to you.
I appreciate that. Again, my name is Scott Benjamin. My company is TwoCubed. Our website is twocubedllc.com, and my email is scott@twocubedllc.com. So, and those will be in the show notes, and we'd love to get in touch with you. I'll put my cell phone number out there. I'm happy to get calls and texts. I live on the East Coast. I live in South Carolina, but I travel about 50% of the time. So always available to connect with you on a text or a call and schedule some things. So just look forward to answering any questions you might have.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, Scott. Very informative. And I'm sure for those watching, if you're even just considering doing this, hopefully this is kind of pushing you in that direction, because this is um, a, a positive opportunity, an additional revenue stream. It doesn't seem to be barriers getting into this, just a matter of knowing who to talk to, and of course, figuring out how to incorporate it into your facility.
That's right. That's right. Well, thank you so much for the time. Appreciate it.
You bet. Thanks, Scott, and thanks everyone. We'll see you on the next one. Take care.